and thank you, CENGN, for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm very happy to be here today. Like the lady who introduced me, my name is Thibault, and I lead the systems engineering team in Ottawa. And our team focuses on developing innovative solutions for our customers. We're seeing an unprecedented level of transformation in our world today, and that's noticeable by everyone, not just technology professionals. And first, what I want to do in my talk today, I want to cover two things. The first thing I want to do is I want to paint a broad picture around digital transformation and its impact on our lives. And the second thing I want to do is I want to dive a little deeper, specifically on smart buildings, as one example, basically, of that digital transformation. So everyone is fascinated by digital transformation and the incredible opportunities that it will bring to us in the future. Professor Klaus Schwab, the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, calls it the fourth industrial revolution. He believes that we stand on the brink of a technological revolution that will fundamentally change the way we live, work, and relate to one another. He believes that this transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. Now, in what ways is that relevant to you? Since not only do we need to ask ourselves, what does it mean to our business, in terms of how we manage your business model, your customers, and your employees, but it can open great new business opportunities. We are seeing an incredible interest by customers on digital transformation and how it can change your business. You need to seize this opportunity. So let's take a look at digital transformation in action. But first, I'd like to do it through the eyes of a 9-year-old. Now, that little girl is not a technology professional. And the reality is, what she's got in her hands is essentially today's computers. And not so long ago, you needed scientists to operate a computer, and you needed a full crew and a truck to actually move that device. Now, she can also communicate with anyone in the world with that same device. She can take pictures, but not only that, she can edit pictures, she can create picture books, basically. She can download and watch movies on demand, all from a few touches. And she can even experience the world through a richer experience, through augmented reality. Now, as you notice, some of these smaller icons on the slides, they're all from our past, and they've already been disrupted by digital transformation. Let's take a look at more examples. We're all familiar with how Uber transformed the taxi industry. They didn't stop there, though. They now have Uber Eats for food delivery. They have Uber Rush for package delivery, Uber Cargo for moving services. Digital is transforming business in every industry, requiring every company to be an IT company. And that's a very key concept nowadays. Even industries you would not expect to be transformed. Let's look at some of those examples here on the slide. So Ford, for instance. Ford is a company that's 113-year-old. You would not necessarily think of Ford as a technology company, at least not 20 years ago. But now they have research facilities in Palo Alto focused on connectivity, mobility, autonomous vehicles, big data, consumer experience. They're using 3D printing on a regular basis for fast prototyping in their manufacturing facilities. They're developing intelligent cruise controls that basically read your biometrics, and that biometrics basically reads your body and its ability to react, and the time to reaction when you're driving, and as a result, will adjust the distance with the cars in front of you automatically. They're developing sonars, cameras, rain sensors, accelerometers, all for their autonomous vehicles. Next example, if you look at trends in the transport industry, Schindler. Schindler is a company that's 141-year-old. They move 1 billion people a day, which is 1/6 of the population, world population, through their escalators, elevators, and moving walkways. And they now have sensors built into all of their equipment to predict outages, place spare parts, dispatch technicians, and that, as a result, allowed them to optimize their whole fleet and reduce by 40 million kilometers of driving. Not only did they have impact on the bottom line from a cost perspective, but huge impact as well from a greenhouse gas emission reduction. Their CIO had an interesting quote that I want to share with you guys. He said, digitization is something that's impacting our top and bottom line. At first, it was a bottom line exercise, but became more and more important to growing our top line. So it's important to realize that digital transformation is not just about the bottom line. It's definitely doing both. It's key to transforming companies and organizations. The third example on the chart is from a real estate perspective. And again, that's going to be the second part of my talk, where I'm going to go a little deeper on that particular space. But just suffice to say here that we have RBC in Oxford, who created basically a smart building in Toronto, It actually happens to be the Cisco headquarters that we have in Toronto. And what they did is they aggregated 5 networks into one. The HVAC network, metering network, lighting network, closed circuit TV, and security access. And they had tremendous results in terms of OpEx and CapEx savings. And again, more on that as we get further in the presentation. The next topic is around, or the next example is around the retail and the point-of-sale industry. Square is the company that brought credit card to the masses. And essentially, the founder had the idea to create that company when his good friend was unable to complete the sale of a faucet kit and fittings for roughly $2,000 for the simple reason that he didn't have he didn't have the ability to accept credit card. So there came the invention, I guess, of the Square reader at that point. But then you may say, okay, well, so what? Square reader, you can take credit card transactions, no big deal. That company was founded in 2009. Fast forward about 7 years to today, they're now processing in excess of $10 billion in transactions per quarter. So that's $40 billion a year in transactions, and they're growing 50% year over year. So there's a significant impact, again, to one industry in particular, the retail and the point-of-sale industry. Last example on the chart here is in agriculture using John Deere. John Deere, a company that's even older, 180-year-old, they now have software, network connectivity, data collecting sensors, again, built into their machines to help them do predictive analytics, maintenance, and breakdowns. Now, what exactly is driving this unprecedented level of transformation? Although the list can be exhaustive, 5 of those trends typically come on top and are unarguably the top 5 trends that are basically having an impact on this transition. For years, isolated systems and machines have been creating and generating data, but really for the benefits of that single system and machine or thing. Think of the dormant transformative potential that we have that lies within each of these systems or individual system and things. And what if we could interconnect them all? And here comes mobility. So mobile devices and connectivity via Wi-Fi, cellular, now 5G, LoRa technology, continues to grow exponentially. Think about it for a second. How can these tiny devices, mobile devices, be responsible for 90% of all internet traffic? Well, for one thing, there's billions of them, as we saw in the previous slide. And the second point is, customers are now asking for rich video content. And that has a significant impact, obviously, on traffic on the internet. So video. Video transforms the consumer's experience. It makes it natural. And today, that is exactly what consumers want. I mean, my kids are on YouTube. If they come back from school, they need additional material to help them out. They're going to be on YouTube. They don't want to necessarily read a piece of paper or something on a document on the internet. They're going to have someone basically show them on a video how to help them with their school, basically. So video is pervasive and definitely part of our lives nowadays. And that's what people expect. Big data and data analytics is the 4th trend. And this is essentially the piece of the puzzle that aggregates, processes, and extracts value from the raw data from those 6 billion devices that we saw earlier that are out there today. Now, being in the cloud makes it possible for those systems to actually upload raw data into the cloud from anywhere, and then for consumers to download the value add, basically the actionable information from the cloud as well from anywhere. So that's a key component of the equation. Now finally, around applications, application is really where the rubber hits the road. This is the interface that the consumers are working with, and that's essentially hiding the magic behind many of the technology that I've talked about before, but that's really what the consumers are interacting with. Now I could also add open source to the list of key technology trends. Initiatives such as DevOps, OpenNFV are also enabling digital transformation. In fact, Cisco and CENGN are partnering and working together on OpenNFV Fast Data Stacks project, which creates an open source foundation for high performance and flexible NFV infrastructure. So if we put it all together, what do we have? Well, essentially, if we look at these 5 technology trends that I mentioned, what we really have is in the next 4 years, we've got 20 billion devices that are waiting to be connected to each other and to people over mobile technology. Data from these 20 billion things can be aggregated and analyzed in the cloud, and relevant actionable information can be presented back in real time, anywhere, potentially over video, certainly over mobile devices, for consumers. So what we really have is digital transformation perfect storm. Now, why stop here? What else does innovation have in store for us? 3D printing for rapid prototyping, again, becoming mainstream in manufacturing. Robots. Robots are becoming more and more prevalent as well, and people are doing research projects to see how they can be used for areas that potentially are unhealthy for humans to interact, or potentially unsafe for humans to operate. John Deere, that I talked about earlier, they're actually one of their key projects around the smart farms, developing smart farms, are actually exploring that very concept. Drones, another example, can be used now in unsafe areas. Military applications come to mind. Natural disaster applications come to mind as well. Now think about a richer experience you can get through augmented reality when going to a museum, for instance. And what about virtual reality? Now, I gotta say, every time I see this picture, I can't help smiling. So whatever this guy's looking at looks pretty real to him, that's for sure. But seriously, if we look, one of the other trends as well is autonomous vehicles. There's a ton of hype around that particular topic. And if you do a little bit of a search on YouTube, you're going to see some of those products, some of those solutions, I guess, or products are already on the market, already in the hands of consumers. If you do a search on YouTube, you type Tesla, you're going to see homegrown video, homemade videos of people testing the autonomous driving capabilities of their Tesla. So it is out there. Not perfect yet, but it is definitely out there. Next one is artificial intelligence. The one that comes, I guess the big one that comes to mind for me is IBM Watson. I'm going to do a little bit of publicity for IBM here, but it's amazing what Watson can do, and it's got applications across multiple industries. One of the interesting ones is around healthcare, where it really has the ability to collect and analyze literally all literature on a particular topic and come back with a diagnostic for someone. Which again, something that human brains would not be able to do. And last but not least, around blockchain. Blockchain is another key technology trend that we need to watch. A recent World Economic Forum report predicts that by 2025, 10% of GDP will be stored on blockchains or blockchain-related technologies. This technology has the potential to shape the financial industry to its core. Again, this is another example of an industry that's fairly stable and stayed away from significant transformation. But I guess they're next on the hit list. That's one way to say it for sure. So all that to say that increasingly when talking to customers, the conversation includes a line of business owners and not just the IT departments anymore. And that's a really good thing for IT because it goes to show the importance and the critical role that IT or technology is starting to play within companies. And companies are recognizing that technology is an enabler for their organization to be successful and thrive in the digital era. There was an MIT study that showed that companies that master digital don't only drive more revenue, but are 26% more profitable than their average industry competitors. So let me ask you this then. Is it really about technology? And the answer is no. Digital transformation is really about transforming the end consumer experience. But as we saw, technology has everything to do as a fundamental enabler of any digital transformation. So for all of you here working in technologies, rest assured it's still a very safe career path. So now let's shift our attention to the real estate and construction industry. The construction and real estate industry is one of the oldest and most conventional industries in the world. But it has also seen its own share of transformation. For instance, in 1857, the elevators made their way into the buildings. 1870s, lighting. 1902, air conditioning. 1970, the curtain walls, those beautiful glass walls that you see around the building, they're not load-bearing, but they certainly create that envelope around the buildings that make them look very beautiful. In 1990, the building information modeling became mainstream. Now since then, we've seen the development and evolution of various additional individual systems or building systems within those buildings. But now if you throw into the mix some of the technologies that I just talked about earlier, you now have the perfect storm for transforming the real estate industry. So when talking to people sometimes, they say that we have been doing smart building for a long time. And I don't disagree with them. The reality is the concept of smart building has been around for a number of years. But the reality is what we really have is smart systems within a building. And these systems are not yet interconnected. They're just starting to get interconnected. And that's really the transition that we're on the verge of right now. A good analogy I like to use is when telephony transitioned over a common IP network. All of a sudden, you could receive voice notifications in your inbox on the email, or you can even listen to a voicemail as an audio attachment in your email. But the bottom line is, it created additional value that only became possible because these two systems got interconnected. And that's really what we're talking about here. I think earlier, on the panel, someone was asking around the definition of smart, and it kind of clicked in my head. In my mind, when we say smart buildings, that's really because you're now interconnecting multiple systems that used to be isolated from one another, and you get that extra value that just wasn't available before. So a true intelligent buildings really come together when these currently siloed systems, lighting, HVAC, fire alarms, access control, elevators, are connected, and the building then has the ability to learn, as I said, and orchestrate the behavior of that network towards a common set of business outcomes. That could be, for instance, improving safety, reducing energy consumption, reducing costs, improving comfort and experience within the building. These are all examples. Now, specifically, connected indoor lighting solutions use a high-density light placement model powered by a resilient, high bandwidth and secure wired switch network. Now, this creates a class of network LED lighting fixtures capable of hosting a variety of advanced sensors, cameras, speakers, and non-traditional lighting devices. It also leverages advances in LED technology that introduces a variety of new lighting capabilities, such as temperature tunable white and RGB color. Now let's talk about the drivers behind this transformation in real estate. The first one on the list is cost. 40% of the OpEx for a commercial building is simply keeping the lights on. 40% of the cost, operating cost of the building. That's significant. So reduce it by 1% if you get the ability to do that, and it's translated into significant cost savings when it comes to large commercial buildings. Another element that's relevant as well from a cost perspective is the fact that the cost of LED lighting is reducing by 12% year over year, so making it more and more attractive on a yearly basis. Oh, too fast here. So another trend, the second trend is around, second driver is around energy consumption. There's a significant amount of pressure around the world to reduce energy consumption. And again, not just for dollar savings, but again, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Now, when you consider that commercial buildings are responsible for 23% of all global electricity usage, any percentage reduction has a significant impact. Improving safety is another one. There's a couple of ways to do that. Two examples that come to mind is you can now use those smart lights in the buildings to potentially light up a pathway for emergency responders when you have a casualty in the building to get them faster to that destination. Another example that comes to mind is you can combine closed-circuit video surveillance with Wi-Fi analytics to help you determine where you've got pockets of people in the buildings when you have to do an evacuation. Maximizing utilization, which is the fourth driver. This is top of mind for every facility manager. Whenever we meet with facility managers, this is definitely one of the #1 considerations in their mind. Real estate is extremely expensive, and the best possible use they can make of that space is definitely a top consideration for them. And this is, again, this can be done through analytics, using those sensors, by analyzing traffic volume, basically, and people movement within the building to start optimizing the space and the configuration of the floor space that they have access to. Now, the last consideration or last driver is around improving experience and comfort. And that one I find very interesting because I think, again, this was another topic that came up during the panel, is around the next generation of talent coming into the workplace. Every employer, it is definitely top of mind for every employer to attract and retain top talent. And that next generation of top talent is looking for an environment with which they can connect and interact with. So again, that we're seeing as also as a driver for smart connected buildings. Now, in an office building, smart connected lighting can help improve productivity because the high color rendering index allows you to closely approximate natural light, which research has shown improves mood, productivity, health, and more. Now, what the smart building can do as well with all these sensors is when you badge into your office area, for instance, you can, as you swipe in your card or basically punch in a QR code on the wall as you come in, the system come out, because all these systems are interconnected, the network can basically start configuring and adjusting your light to your preset preference, your room temperature the way you like it, and start deploying your profiles automatically in your phones and your video endpoints. So you're walking and all of a sudden you're basically into the space the way you like it, which as research has shown, makes you more productive. An interesting stat with respect to that particular point from IDC, it's 1 year old, but I think it's still relevant, and I like the point that they made around that. This says 1 in 5 organizations will aim to measure employee experience as a direct impact on customer experience. So the point they're making is the correlation between the employee experience in their workplace and how that translates into the experience that they're going to give their customers. So again, a lot of value certainly from that perspective. So let's talk about cost for a minute. Cost is definitely a key benefit of combining these networks and going after this smart building solution or digital ceiling. Now, cost reduction can be achieved through many ways. One of the ways, as we saw earlier, is obviously through the combination of these networks, but I'll tell you a little more about that. The HVAC network, the metering network, the lighting network, closed circuit TV, etc., etc. The fact is, you get also to replace fairly expensive, much more expensive electrical cabling and associated conduit that you need to run your electrical cabling into. And also you get to save from a cost perspective, but because you don't need a certified electrician to actually run your power, because what you're going to be using instead is unshielded twisted pair, Cat6, Cat5 cabling with PoE on top of that. Another benefit to power your, you can use that to power your lights as opposed to regular electrical cabling. Another benefit that you get by doing that is you save on conversions from AC to DC and DC to AC. You get to stay DC much longer along the path of the electricity itself, and you obviously have gains from an efficiency perspective as a result of doing that. You get to harvest daylight. The sensors and the lights can actually detect the fact that you've got natural light coming into the building, and as a result, tune or dim the artificial lights to take advantage of that, and again, reduce energy consumption as a result of that. The system can turn on and off the lights as required based on sensing if there's presence in the room or not. Last but not least, the LEDs themselves, compared to fluorescent, consume significantly less energy. And what we've seen is gains or reduction in costs associated with that transition from fluorescent to LED in excess of 50%. So if you remember the statistics that I mentioned earlier, when I said that 40% of an overall building operation cost comes from keeping the light on, reducing that by over 50% just by going with 2 LEDs is again very significant. And that's something that obviously property owners, facility managers care deeply about. Now you can also leverage analytics tools to analyze traffic patterns, relocate space, and improve security. Let me use retail as an example. If you can analyze customer and employee traffic patterns to optimize store layout, merchandise placement, staff allocations, customer engagement, and employee productivity. You can measure shopper engagement with product and promo displays by tracking exactly where employees are moving, where customers are moving within your retail. And you can measure which department has the most and least list of visitors. The list goes on. It's a long list of potential benefits that you can get and additional intelligence or insight that you can get in terms of how you can optimize your store. Now this is the RBC Oxford example that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. And basically, this is, as I said, this is the Cisco headquarters in Canada, located in Toronto. And we have 4 floors in that particular building. The implementation details of that particular building is basically 1,400 PoE lights and 140 PoE switches to power all the sensors and all the lights, plus approximately 300 VAV or variable air volume controllers to optimize the airflow in the buildings based on presence and user density. And really, what we got out of that as a result is that Oxford ended up creating an IoT showcase of what we call the connected ceiling. They converged those 5 networks into one: the HVAC network, the metering network, the lighting network, and the closed circuit TV network, and the access network as well. They were able to save $600,000 from a construction cost perspective, and an additional 10% on an ongoing OPEX across all the costs of the building itself. They reduced energy costs specifically by 50% by replacing all the fluorescent with the LEDs, as I mentioned earlier. And they won multiple awards as a result of that. They won the LEED Platinum certification for the building itself, the LEED Gold certification for the interior, and they also won the Innovation Award for the most innovative and sustainable workplace. This was given by the Canadian Green Council. Now you may be thinking, well, I don't really have any refit project coming up, or I'm working in a building right now that's relatively new or brand new, and I don't foresee any major refit or new construction. So is there anything that I can do about that to take advantage of the technology to actually gain some of those benefits? And the answer is yes. In scenarios where you don't have these major projects, what you can actually do, there are solutions that will give you still some benefits, and it's typically a combination of Wi-Fi analytics with accurate location tracking. And by doing that, you're able to basically track user density within buildings and dynamically adjust HVAC within your system to basically adjust the airflow, adjust the cooling, adjust the heating based on the population density on a per zone basis. This project was recently completed out of UBC at the trial, and some of the results, I believe, are on the slide. 33% lower greenhouse gas emission, and they're actually on the path to achieving 67% reduction, and 5% of energy savings. Again, back to my point around 40% of OPEX is just keeping the light on. 5% energy saving is significant. It's a significant amount of dollars for any organizations. Now finally, let's not forget that foundational to digital transformation is the digital ready network. Without the next generation secure, resilient, and highly programmable network and the efforts in that space from organizations like CENGN, the potential for digital transformation will not be fully realized, if at all. So as we chart our economic course for the next decade, we must ensure that digital transformation is integral to our strategy. This will allow us to create a faster, more dynamic, stronger, and of course, a more digital Canada. The question we all need to be asking ourselves on a daily basis is, are we ready? Thank you very much.